Code Explained says hi. So in today's part, we're going to talk about editing a to-do. So to edit a to-do, you need to select a to-do. So now we have a selected to-do, which is this one, and this menu will show up and then you can edit the to-do. So go get milk now. You can see that now I can edit the to-do in real time. I can also change the day. So if I click on go get milk, then I can add this to the next day. If I change the time, so it says 10:11, now it's 11. I can also change the project, so here it's under work. If I click on personal, now it's under personal. Now if I go and click on this to do here, and if I decide to remove this to do, the selected to do, it doesn't make any sense to keep showing this, so we need to hide this. So if I click on remove, the to-do has been removed and we don't show this anymore. And also here, if I click on meeting, and this to-do now is selected, but I go and remove this one. If I click on this icon here, we don't hide this at all because we still have that to-do and we still can edit this. Now if I go and click on the sidebar, no to-do is been selected, so we also hide this one here. Also, if I select a to-do and then click on one of these items, I also then select or unselect that to-do, and then I don't show anymore this window here. So in today's part, we're going to talk about editing a to-do. In the next one, we're going to talk about animations. So we need to add some animations to our app. And then after the next one, we're going to talk about deploying our app. So we still have just two parts ahead. And now let's go and talk about the logic behind editing a to-do. So because we are going to select and unselect our to-do from different components, that means that our selected to-do is a global variable. So we're gonna need a state to keep track of our selected to-do, and it's gonna be a global variable, which means we're going to head over our context. And inside our index.js, I'm gonna create some state for our selected to-do, and then set selected to-do to change that. I'm gonna initialize that, so when our app loads for the first time, it's gonna be undefined, so we have no selected to do. The user didn't click on any to do yet. And then when the user clicks on our to do in this area here in a dev with the class name text, then we go and call our function set selected to do, and then set the selected to do to do the user clicked on. And then we go and show the edit to do window. But when he clicks on the sidebar or one of each children, then we go and call the set selected to do, and in this time we set selected to do to undefined. So we set it back to undefined, and then we unshow the edit to do. The same thing happens when we click on the remove button, and it happens to be the same as our selected to do. So the to do we are removing is the same as our selected to do. In that case, we set selected to do to undefined, and we hide again our edit to do menu. So you can see here that our selected to do is being used by different components. That's why I have the right to call that a global variable. That's why I need to use the context. So now we show our edit to do menu when we select to do, and when it's undefined we don't show that, which means we need to do some conditional rendering. So inside our edit to do function or component, we need to first bring in the selected to do using our context hook, and then inside our JSX or the JSX code for our edit to do, inside the return statement, all we have so far is a dev with the class name edit to do and a form inside. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna wrap this inside a dev, and then I'm gonna use some curly braces because I'm going to use some JavaScript, and then I'm just gonna say if the selected to do is true, I'm gonna show this. If it's not, I'm not gonna show this. So when I click on the to do, then selected to do is gonna be true, then I'm gonna show this. But if the selected to do is undefined, then we're not gonna show this. Now we need to select a to-do. So when I go and click in this area here, I'm gonna go and select this to-do that I've clicked on. So inside our to-do function or our to-do component, I'm gonna go and bring in the set selected to-do. So this is the function I'm gonna use to change the selected to-do. So the dev that is responsible to render this text here, the time and the project name, it's the dev with the class name text. So I'm gonna go and add an unclick event, and I'm gonna run an anonymous function, and this will call my function set selected to do, and I'm gonna set it to the to do I've clicked on. So now our selected to do is not undefined anymore, instead it's defined. So we're gonna go and show our edit to do menu. Now I also need to bring in our selected to do. Why? Because when I go and select a to do here, now the selected to do is the same as our to do one. If I go and click on the remove button, because our to do one is the same as the one selected, we need to hide this menu here, which means set the selected to do back to undefined. But if I go and remove the to do number 2, if I click on this one, but still the to do one is the selected one, in that case I'm not gonna set selected to do to undefined, because the to do number 2 is not the selected to do. So it's just an if statement. So we check if our selected to do is the same as the to do we are removing. If it's true, then we set selected to do to undefined. Now all I need to do is add an unclick event to this icon here. But if you remember, I have already added an unclick event to that dev. So when I click on this icon here, I delete to do from the Firestore database. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove this function here and create a new function called handle delete, and then I'm gonna pass in the to do. Now my function handle delete, it's gonna take in the to do, and it's gonna delete the to do from our Firestore database, and then check if the selected to do is the same as the to do we are removing. If that's true, we're gonna set the selected to do to undefined to hide our edit to do menu. And now I'm gonna go and talk about unselecting a to do on sidebar click. So when I click on this sidebar here, we need to hide our edit to do menu. So how do we know that we have clicked on sidebar? It's easy. We just need to add an event listener to our document, which is going to be a click event. Now that click event has a property called target. So if the target here happens to be the sidebar, our element sidebar, then we need to hide our edit to do menu, which means that set selected to do to undefined. And also when we click on one of these elements here, we need to hide the menu edit to do. So in this case, the target is a children of our sidebar, or we can say the target is a descendant of our sidebar element. Now how can we achieve this in code? We're just gonna go and add an event listener, which is a click event, to our document, and then we're gonna run our function handle click. Now first we need to go and select our dev with the class name sidebar, which means just selecting our element sidebar. I'm gonna use ref here, and I'm gonna pass in my sidebar ref object. This object here is being created using ref hook. This hook here returns an object with a property called current. Now if we take a look on this property here, we're just gonna see that it's our element sidebar. So sidebar ref that current is just our sidebar selected. Now for our handle click, it's going to take in the click event, and that event has a property called target. Now we just need to check if the e.target is the same as the sidebar that current, then we need to set selected to do to undefined. And also we need to check if the e.target is a descendant of my sidebar. If that's true, we also need to set this to undefined. So here I'm going to use a method we use on DOM elements. So it's called contains. So this method here is used only on DOM elements. So we need to check if an element is a descendant of another element or not. So if we clicked on an element that is a descendant or a children of the sidebar ref, this method here will return true. If it's not, this will return false. So if this is true or this is true, then we're gonna set this to undefined, and we're gonna go and hide our edit to do menu. Now all this code you can see here is gonna go inside our sidebar.js file, which is our sidebar component. Now adding an event listener manually to our document is called an effect, which means we're gonna use our use effect hook, and then I'm gonna return a cleanup function to remove the event listener from our document. And I'm gonna run this just once. So this effect will run only once when this mounts, when our sidebar mounts. And we gonna go and remove the event listener when our sidebar unmounts. And now it's time to update our selected to do. So we have some state inside our edit to do component. This states here control these inputs here. So we have a control component. And now when the user clicks on one of these, on one of the to-dos, when he selects a to-do, we then go and change the text value, the day value, time, and to the project, and that's going to change what we see in our edit to-do menu. So to change these values here, or this inputs values, we need to use set text, set day, and set time, and set to the project. But we need to bring in the selected to do first. We need to know what is the selected to do first. Then we're going to use those functions to change the values of our inputs. Now for set text is going to be just the selected to do .text. Set date is going to be it must be a JavaScript date object, but our selected to do .date is just a string. So we need to pass this into a JavaScript date object using moment. We're going to do the same thing for the time. Selected to do .time is just a string. We need to pass that into a JavaScript date object. And set to do project is going to be the selected to do .project name. Now if I change the inputs this way here, what's going to happen? When our app loads for the first time, what's going to happen? We're going to declare some state, then we're going to change that state. Changing the state will cause a re-render. When the re-render happens, we're going to go again and change that state, a re-render, change that state, a re-render. So we're going to have an infinite loop. So that's going to throw an error and our app will crash. So what we need to do here is we need to use our effect hook, and we only need to change our state if the selected to do has been changed. Now I also need to change these, or change this inputs if my selected to do is defined. If it's undefined, I'm not going to do this. Now let's go and actually update the selected to do in our Firestore database. So when do we need to update our Firestore database? We need to do that when one of these changes. So if the text changes, day or time or the project name has been changed, we need to get reference to our doc using the selected to do.id. So now that we have a ref to our doc, we need to use our update method, and we're going to pass in an object, which is our document. The fields we need to update are the text, the date, day, time, project name. So we have 4 here, we have 5 here. Day, we need also to change this because day is related to date. To the date. Now I'm gonna go and set text to text. For date, I need to format the day, which is a JavaScript date object, to this format here. The same thing for the day, the same thing for time, and the project name is going to be the to-do project. Now I only need to do this if the selected to do is defined. And also I'm going to use the effect hook. So I'm going to go and run this code whenever one of these have been changed. So that's it for the logic part. Let's go and see this in action. So again, we need the files from the last part 22. So I'm going to go and copy the link to that folder, paste it in download and click on download. Once you download the folder, run npm install from that folder, from within that folder, and then you're good to go. Now I'm gonna go and click on these. You can see that we can't select that to do. So we need to go into our context, to our index.js. I'm gonna create some state for our selected to do. then set selected to do to change its value, then use state, and I'm gonna initialize that with undefined. So when the app loads for the first time, the selected to do is undefined. I'm gonna pass those down to use them in other components by other components. I'm gonna go into my components folder under edit to do. I'm gonna go and add some comments here, state, then context. I'm gonna need to bring in the selected to do using context. So we need to bring in the use context hook, and then we need also to bring in the to do context from our context folder. Now I'm gonna get rid of the projects array because we need to bring in that using context. Now I need to use some conditional rendering, so I'm gonna wrap this inside the dev and then select it to do and then our edit to do. So now if I refresh, you can see that because our selected to do is undefined. Now let's go into our to do component, and here we need to bring in first our selected to do and set selected to do using context. So we need to bring in the selected to do and set selected to do. We also need to bring in use context hook and our to do context. That's good. Now I'm gonna go into the dev with the class name text, and I'm gonna add an onClick event. So onClick, we're gonna set selected to do to our to do. Now if I save and click on one of these, you can see that now we show the edit to do component. And when I remove a to do, you can see that the edit to do menu is still there, so we need to hide that. So I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna rename this to, or remove this and create a new function called handle delete. I'm gonna pass in the to do object. Now let's go and create our handle delete function. It takes in the to do, and we're gonna delete our to do from our Firebase database or Firestore database. And then we need to check if the selected to do is the same as our to do, the to do we are removing, then we set selected to do to undefined. So if I go and select this one and then remove the other one, it should still there. But if I select this one and remove it, now we can't see the edit to do menu anymore. Now I'm gonna go into my sidebar component because we need to select our sidebar and then add an event listener to our document. So I'm gonna create a sidebar ref object using our ref hook, and then I'm gonna use effect to add an event listener to the document, which is a click event. I'm gonna run a function called handle click, and I'm gonna use a cleanup function to remove our event listener when the sidebar component unmounts. So here I'm gonna create my function handle click. So when I click on that, I'm gonna need to check if the e target is the same as our sidebar.current. If it's the case, I'm gonna set selected to do to undefined. We still need to bring that first using context. So I'm gonna go and bring in the set selected to do using context. That's good. So I'm gonna go and hit save. Let's go and check that. So I'm gonna go and add a new to do. So if I click on that to do, you can see that it shows up, but if I click on sidebar, we hide that. Now if I click on one of these, you can see that we can't hide the edit to do menu because we need to also check if the e.target is contained in, is a descendant of our sidebar. Now if I click on one of these, you can see that we hide the edit to do. So now hiding our edit to do menu is working just fine, but now we need to go and update our edit to do when we click on a to do. So I'm gonna go into my edit to do component, and here I'm gonna go and use effects to change the values of our states. We need to change set text to selected to do text. We need to change set day to, we need to use moment here because we need to pass that string into a JavaScript date object. I'm gonna do the same thing for set time. So we need to pass in the to do time using moment into a JavaScript date object. We need to set to do project to selected to do project name. Here I have a typo, so I have to say selected to do. Now we need to do this only if the selected to do is defined, so I'm going to use an if statement. And we only need to do this if the selected to do has been changed. Now let's go and create a new to do. I'm going to call this go for a run. Now if I click on test, you can see that we have changed all our inputs. If I click on go for a run, you can see I've been changed. I'm going to go and add a new to do, for example meeting. I'm going to choose work for project, a day and time. So if I select to do, you can see that our edit to do is been updated. Now I'm gonna go and edit a to do, but it doesn't update because we didn't update it in our Firestore database. So I'm gonna go and add another use effect or another effect. So this will rerun only if one of my states have been changed. And then I need also to check if the selected to do is defined, and then I'm gonna go and update my Firestore database. So I'm gonna import Firebase first, and then I'm gonna say Firestore to create a reference to my doc, to my to do, using the selected to do.id. Here I'm gonna use update, and then I'm gonna update the fields text. Because they have the same name, I'm gonna use a shorthand, and I'm gonna update the date field. So I'm gonna format the day, which is a JavaScript date object, to this format. I'm gonna go and do the same thing for the number of the day. I'm gonna go and do the same thing for time, or for the time of the to do. And then I'm gonna go and update the field name, project name to do project. Now if I save this, if I go and change the name of test, you can see that it's been changed or changing in real time. Now if I go and change everyone, you can see that we can change any one of these. Now I'm gonna go and change the day of this one to tomorrow. You can see that it has been added to tomorrow. I'm gonna choose another day. So it's working just fine. Now I'm gonna change the time. So it didn't change. So we have here some problems. I'm gonna try that again. And it didn't change again. I'm gonna open my console. So here the error says that a component is changing an uncontrolled input to be controlled. So this is likely because we have an undefined value changed to a defined value. So we need to go into our use state hook and then define our states. So they are now undefined, and when we try to define them, we get that error. So we need to initialize all of these and define them. So now if I go here and refresh, I'm gonna try now to change the time, and it didn't change. So I'm gonna try that again. Nothing is happening. So we have an issue here, and it's here. So I said day, it must be time. Sorry for that. You already have seen where the problem is coming for. So I'm gonna go now. If I change this to 9 AM, you can see right now it's been changed, and that's good. Now if I change the project, it has been updated. That's great. So that's it for this part. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something today. Take care. See you in the next part.